welcome to Real Shame, a show where the two of us watch movies and discuss movies, and specifically movies that we have not seen, either one or the other, or both of us have not seen. We watch for the first time, then we discuss, and we film it, and we drop it on the internet. And you're welcome. No.
That's right.
Thank you for watching. My name's Andy.
And I'm Adam.
And this week we're going to do a couple of movies that are on my list, list of shame, whatever you want to call it, list of movies that I have not seen.
Me too.
And him too. Both of us, neither one of us have seen either one of these movies, I suppose.
Correct.
So to tell us about the movie that we're going to talk about today, I'm going to throw it over to Adam. He's going to tell you all about it, kids.
That's my job. Sophie is a survivor of Nazi concentration camps who has found a reason to live with Nathan, what was that? I can't even read that word. Sparkling, if unsteady American Jew with an obsession with the Holocaust in Sophie's Choice.
Rise and shine, honey child. Stir them lazy bones. The grits on the griddle, the corn's on the pone.
Old Pompey's going to hitch up the coach and four. You're going to have a picnic out and down by the seashore.
Good morning, Stingo.
Good morning.
We wanted to make friends and to take you out on this beautiful summer day. We want you to come up and have breakfast with us.
And then?
Yes.
Coney Island.
Coney Island, oh boy!
Sorry about last night.
All right, we're doing Sophie's Choice. I think everyone kind of knows, like about what a Sophie's Choice is. No, maybe not. No. I mean, like you've heard the term Sophie's Choice.
I've heard the term. I did not know. I did not know. I mean, if you mean it's synonymous with something bad, then yes.
Well, it's choosing between two things, and none of them you want to choose between.
Yeah.
It's like okay. So we're doing that. We're learning where Sophie's Choice came from. What is it?
What exactly is it?
And so Sophie's Choice is actually a novel that came out in 1979. I'm jumping ahead of myself. So Sophie's Choice came out in 1982. The novel is written by William Styron, and the movie is written and directed by Alan J. Pakula.
Apocula now? Apocalypse now?
Yeah, Pakula. Sorry, Alan. Got your name wrong. Pakula. William Styron, he's known for a lot of books that he's written. He wrote down Lie Down in the Darkness, which was his first acclaimed work, and it was published when he was 26. He also did Confessions of Nat Turner, which is narrated by Nat Turner, who was a leader of a 1831 Virginia slave revolt, and then also Sophie's Choice that came out in 1979. Pakula directed some famous, well-known movies as All the President's Men. I think everyone's heard of that. Presumed Innocent, which I've never heard of. The Devil's Own, and The Pelican Brief. So he's got a Grisham in there.
Presumed Innocent has Harrison Ford with like a Caesar cut.
Does it really?
Like a George Clooney haircut.
Looks terrible. Yeah. So Sophie's Choice stars Meryl Streep as the titular character Sophie Zalowski. Kevin Kline as Nathan Landau, and Peter Nicol as Stigo. It focuses mainly on these three characters, although there's some other people in the cast and stuff like that. Now jumping back to where I was, I think you and I both have heard the term Sophie's Choice before, right?
Yeah.
But we've never seen the movie and all that comes with it. So I figured it'd be a good movie to kind of watch. Spoiling it a little bit, this movie had a lot of awards nominations and recognition critically, so that's one of the reasons why I chose it. So we already kind of established you haven't seen this movie before. Did you know much about the movie before you jumped into it?
No, not really. Surprisingly not, even though it's been around now for 41 years.
That's right.
I really didn't know that much about it. This is the kind of movie, and I may have said this whenever we watched The French Lieutenant's Woman, because they came out, I think French Lieutenant's Woman came out in 1981, and this came out in 1982, so they're real close together, and obviously they both star Meryl Streep. But like, since I'd never seen either movie, of course now I have seen French Lieutenant's Woman since we watched it for Real Shame. I would confuse the two.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I knew Meryl Streep was in this, but I was still thinking it might be Jeremy Irons as her co-star.
Gotcha.
Not Kevin Kline, right?
Or Peter MacNicol.
I didn't know Peter MacNicol was in it at all.
Yeah.
When I think of Peter MacNicol, I think of Ally McBeal, because he's on that show. I think of the goofy character he plays in Ghostbusters 2.
That's all I think about is the goofy character plays Ghostbusters.
And Dragon Slayer from 1981.
You know what I also think of? Because he's in Dracula Dead and Loving It. Because he plays Renfield.
Been too long.
Does he play Renfield?
I don't remember.
I'm 90% sure he plays Renfield.
Does.
So
then I need to rewatch that.
He makes me think of Dracula Dead and Loving It and Renfield.
Okay.
Or Dracula Dead and Loving Renfield from Dracula Dead and Loving. I can't get a single competent phrase out of my mouth.
You ate too much pizza.
I did. So you got this confused with the French Lieutenant's Woman. You know, you didn't quite know a lot about the movie going into it. Right. So what are your thoughts about Sophie's Choice after having seen it?
Meryl Streep has some interesting like teeth in the movie. That's the first thing that jumped out at me. No, so speaking of, I mean, it really does though. Like she had to have been wearing like some false prosthetic teeth. Yeah. And I presume this was a trial run for a movie she would do much, much later with the Iron Lady, when she played Margaret Thatcher, where she also has some interesting teeth in both of those films. No, so I have heard the term Sophie's Choice, and I knew like that it had to be something bad. But I really had no idea like what her actual choice is until I watched this movie.
So question on that.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to Kirby about it. Did you think her choice while watching the movie was going to be between the two guys, or do you think it was going to be something else?
I figured it was something else.
Yeah, I never once thought it was going to be the guys.
But I also think the title applies to that them as well. I mean, I think you can apply it to both meanings.
Do you think audiences in '82 thought it could have been it was between the guys, or do you think they were on the same page we were on?
No, they probably, because I don't think it had become part of the lexicon at that point. So I think they probably thought it was just between the two guys.
Okay.
And then you're definitely surprised later in the film when you find out what the actual choice there. I mean, unless you read the novel beforehand, obviously.
She's like, I got some truth bombs for you guys.
Yeah.
Two of them.
So, I mean, when I started watching it, again, really not knowing anything about it other than I knew she was going to make some sort of choice at some point during the movie. I really didn't know anything else besides that. I mean, it has a very kind of Jules and Jim, Francois Truffaut's Jules and Jim, obviously, feel to it. And, you know, I say that because Jules and Jim is obviously, it's a movie about two guys that are in love with the same woman. So I think any movie that I ever watch where two guys are in love with the same woman, I always go, oh, it's like Jules and Jim.
So any love triangle.
Basically so. So I kind of thought that, and, you know, they're like having fun together and going to Coney Island and stuff like that. Peter MacNicol's Southern accent reminded me of like Holly Hunter. I don't know if he was hanging out with her before because he does not sound like that. Although he was born in Dallas.
Oh, really?
I don't know if he grew up in Texas. I didn't bother to look that far. I just saw that he was born in Dallas. But he has an interesting kind of Southern drawl and whatnot. Yeah. But I thought it was okay as it kind of goes along with their kind of triangular relationship, as you say. I think of Kevin Kline as like a comedian or comedic actor more than I do anything else. I know he's done plenty of drama as well. But
The Big Chill?
Everything, but even The Big Chill has a lot of comedic stuff in it. So when he was doing the more kind of dramatic scenes, I don't want to say it was bad acting because it wasn't, but it was kind of jarring to me to see because I just think of him more as comedic. But there's definitely times in this movie where he is much more comedic when he's more kind of outgoing and he's not in one of his jealous rages.
Yeah.
But as you continue watching the movie, I think it gets super interesting once you find out more about Sophie and once you find out more about Nathan. And you find out two main things about them. The first thing you find out about Nathan is that he's actually a liar because he's been diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic.
Yeah.
And so he basically has just made up. I mean, he does work at Pfizer, as they say, because he tells everybody he's a research biologist at Pfizer. But in fact, he's just like an assistant and he doesn't do much.
Yeah. It sounded like he was a janitor.
Basic, I mean,
Yeah.
something. Yeah, he doesn't do much there. He did not graduate from Harvard, as he says, and all these other things. And then with Meryl Streep, obviously, you find out about what happened to her during World War II, which is horrendous. And the actual titular Sophie's Choice is a horrendous choice to have to make, obviously. But once you start to find those things out about them, I found the movie super interesting, super compelling, and it forces you to go back and reevaluate everything you've seen up to that point so far. Because, as I was saying, when I saw Kevin Kline kind of act like he did, it didn't seem believable, or it seemed jarring to me. But then when you find out that he is lying and he is actually mentally ill, I like, it all made sense. I was like, oh, I actually believe that now, because he goes into these, he's paranoid, and he goes into these fits of rage, the jealous rage that he thinks that the Peter MacNicol character Stingo is sleeping with Sophie, who's his girl.
Yeah.
But from that point on, I was like hooked and riveted into the film. So overall, I really like this movie because of that. Because it's like it starts as one thing and it becomes something not entirely different, but it becomes something different, and it becomes so much more absorbing when you find out more about those two characters. And when Sophie is, because there's long moments where the camera just lingers on her face, and she's just telling the story. And Meryl Streep is phenomenal in this film. Absolutely phenomenal. I mean, she's a phenomenal actress. Everybody knows that. She's Meryl Streep, but she's absolutely fantastic in this movie. Crazy looking teeth notwithstanding. She's absolutely fantastic in this movie. I mean, I'm not saying Peter MacNicol or Kevin Kline are bad, and she obviously has a meatier role, but she's terrific. I would say overall, I actually really like this movie, just because I felt like it got so much more complex once you find out that the Nathan character and the Sophie character are basically living lies. Lies that they tell themselves. In Sophie's case, it's to forget the past and kind of drown all that out. And in Nathan's case, it's basically to escape his mental illness. So, I mean, it just becomes so much more fascinating, I feel like, the more the movie goes along. So overall, this was a big win for me. I mean, I thought it was a really good movie, actually. What about you? You're like,
no. I mean, I'm there's aspects of this movie I like, but I think there's some structural and mechanical issues to the way the movie is presented, or the way the script of the movie, honestly, that I wish they could have done to make it a little bit better. I'm with you. I think Meryl Streep does a great job, an excellent job of portraying Sophie, and she has to do a lot and has to portray a lot, and and it is great at it, and it's a great choice. I never found Peter MacNicol to be a equal to Kevin Kline. Like, I don't see how she would choose between the two.
No,
I mean, unless it's just because he's there, and that's the idea behind it, is she's kind of going with the leftovers or whatever. But it doesn't seem like he would ever be a romantic interest for her at all. I never bought that.
He's not really, though,
but
right?
But at the end, when she tells him, when she drops the final bomb, and they're in the hotel room together, and he's asking her to marry him and have kids, and she's telling him why she can't. There is obviously, unless he's completely off his rocker, he thinks there's a romantic connection and a possibility, and from it, and it seemed like they are kind of dating at that point, because Meryl Streep has moved past Kevin Kline, even though she kind of rebounds a little bit, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't feel like she's ever seriously considering Stingo at all. I think he really wants to believe that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that she's ever said. But yes, she does sleep with him, whatever, that one night. But again, it's almost like a pity.
You think so?
Lay. Yeah, I feel like it is because he's a virgin. He is a virgin.
Yeah.
I mean, he's playing a 22-year-old. He was not 22 but he looks young. But he's playing a 22-year-old virgin.
Yeah.
And so I think that she's just kind of like, all right, well, I'll give him his thrills for this one night. But she has every intention of going back to Nathan, which she does.
Yeah. Okay.
So she's like, screw it.
I didn't read that when I watched it, but I can see that. The other thing I have that's really kind of mechanically, or the issue with it, is I really don't think, and it's interesting after what you said, because you're probably gonna disagree with me. I really don't think Kevin Kline being a paranoid schizophrenic added a whole lot to the movie.
Mhm.
I think if we could have marked all those fits of rage and that jealousy and him acting a fool basically to alcoholism. And I really don't think going in and saying he is not this, he's not this true, he's not what he says he is adding a whole lot to the movie. I feel like maybe in the book, it's a little bit more developed and maybe it pairs well with the themes that the book is trying to give.
Mhm.
But as it presents in the movie, I really don't think we get a whole lot of him. And I don't think getting this kind of little bit of truth really adds to his character that much more than we were already getting from the fits of rage do whenever he drinks a lot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that worked as well in the movie. And the other thing is that comes right after the first time that Sophie tells Peter what her experience was in Nazi Germany. So she's like, I got to tell you the truth. This happened in Nazi Germany. And then it's like, wow, you're dealing with that. And all of a sudden, next scene, Stiggo's talking to Kevin Kline's brother. And he's like, oh, yeah, Kevin Kline's lying. Let me tell you the truth about Kevin Kline. And it's just like these two kind of truth bombs backed up to each other just really didn't, I don't think they worked as well mechanically. I wish if they were going to be there, they would have spread them out a little bit.
I don't remember them it happening like that. She doesn't. He finds out about because to clue everyone else. And hopefully you've seen it.
No, he
because we're
finds about
spoiling the crap out
her
of it.
dad.
Yeah, that's it.
Through the professor.
Because she only tells him about her choice and all that stuff much later.
Yeah, he finds out her dad and the professor and all that stuff. So he gets that one truth. And then he hears about Kevin Kline. And again, I just wish that was spread out a little bit more because it's like two, realizations right next to each other that aren't really connected.
I guess I'm misremembering, but I don't remember it being that close together.
Right.
Even that, but maybe they were. It worked for me. I feel like the Kevin Kline's the revelation that Kevin Kline is mentally ill makes his fits of rage much more believable because I thought they were kind of again
hammy,
not as believable.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Until then, and I feel like it all kind of boils down again to the fact that you've got these two very damaged characters that have this passionate relationship and love-hate relationship as well. But they're both kind of running from something. And so I feel like that's kind of the theme or whatever, or one of the themes that they're trying to put across in, I don't know about the book, but in the movie, certainly. The fact that, because Sophie lies about her, because her father, she first says her father was anti-Nazi.
Yeah.
But then Peter MacNicol's character, Stingo, finds out he was fervently pro-Nazi.
Yeah, he
very
was.
pro-Nazi.
Yeah.
But Meryl Streep, lies about it because she does not feel like she would be accepted, and also she's not squeaky clean either.
Oh, and also
right?
she's dating, a Jewish person.
Yeah. So, but I feel like now that she's gotten away from the concentration camp, obviously several years before, she's living in Brooklyn or wherever they're at. She's found this Nathan person, and she knows Nathan's brother tells Stingo that Sophie's very aware that he's lying, but she's fine with it, and she begs Stingo not, or he tells Stingo not to say anything about it, but just to kind of keep an eye on him. No, Sophie knows about it.
No, I didn't get that at all.
I thought he told Stingo like Sophie's aware of it, but she doesn't care because she's just happy she's found somebody who loves her. Like, despite her, well, of course, Kevin Kline, Nathan does not know about her, what she did. She only admits it to Stingo.
Yeah.
But she's like, she feels all this guilt.
Yes.
And so I think she stays with Nathan basically out of the fact that nobody else would want her. So even though Nathan's got problems of his own, nobody else is going to want her like he does. So, I could be wrong, but I thought Nathan's brother said that she was aware of it. But either way,
you're usually right about these things. So
I don't know.
I'm fully willing to believe. But when that conversation came out, I thought it was don't tell her because she doesn't know. But I do read the same thing as she probably is dating him because she is punishing herself a little bit
Yeah.
for what she went through, and probably thinks that's all she deserves.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so I do get that, but I really thought her brother wanted. I thought Kevin Kline's brother wanted to keep it from Meryl Streep. I'll have to check that scene again because I remember it differently. But
yeah, but either way, I mean, I like this movie primarily because I feel like the characters, at first, it seems like a very odd, again, Jules and Jim sort of situation. It almost seems like it's just going to be a movie about a love triangle, and that's it, you know. But and then it gets so much more complicated based on the revelations that you hear. You never hear anything bad about Stingo, but you don't need to.
Yeah.
You know, it's enough having these two characters, Nathan and Sophie, who have gone through incredible, you know, drama and horrible things that have happened to them in their lives. So I found it very, very interesting overall.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was an interesting movie. I liked it, but again, I felt like, to me, when I was after I watched it, I felt like they had some points in the book that they were trying to bring to the screen.
Yeah.
Just because they were in the books, or maybe they were really good in the book, instead of trying to make it a movie that works outside of the book. So So for me, there's some kind of mechanical, structural issues that I felt like if they were really trying to really make it work well in for the screen, they would have switched around or changed up just a little bit. Because like I said, and I know you don't feel this way, I felt the Kevin Kline being, you know, paranoid schizophrenic was just hat on a hat.
A little too much.
A little superfluous. And I think you could have had the same kind of character if you didn't get that realization.
Gotcha.
So a little bit of trivia about this movie. Meryl Streep not only learned a Polish accent, but she also learned how to speak German and Polish in order to pull off those flashbacks and all that.
She's committed, man.
She's committed.
Like
I said a little bit earlier, this movie had it got a lot of acclaim. It was nominated for Best Actress. It was nominated for Best Writing. It was Best Writing Screenplay based on material from another medium. It was nominated for Best Cinematography, and it was nominated for Best Costume Design, and it was nominated for Best Music Original Score. It ended up winning the Academy Award for that Best Actress in a Leading Role for Meryl Streep. Was this her first one or second one?
Second Oscar. First Best Actress. She had won Best Supporting Actress for Kramer versus Kramer.
Gotcha.
A few years before.
So yeah, I mean, but we both agree she did a really remarkable job.
I mean, in a career filled with fantastic performances, this one definitely ranks near the top.
Yeah.
I would say, out of the movies that I've seen.
Have you? Do you remember anything about this Academy Award? Any standouts for that, or? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
You mean as opposed to as far as the ones that it lost?
The ones that it lost to, or any other kind of awards that were won, or anything?
I did not remember, but I looked it up.
Okay.
So I can tell you.
All right.
Yeah, she's the only win out of the nominations. For the adapted screenplay, it was Missing, directed by Costa Gavras.
Okay.
And for cinematography and best costume design was Gandhi, because Gandhi won Best Picture.
Okay, gotcha.
And the original score was won by E.T. John Williams.
John Williams.
John Williams won for E.T. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I would not know that though had I not looked it up before.
Yeah.
I don't just rattle that off.
I figured you looked it up. That's why I was asking.
Look it up. I did. Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of where we fall on it. Where are anything you want to add?
It says I don't subscribe to Peacock, but it says it's streaming on Peacock. Did you watch it on Peacock? I don't know.
I don't know if I have Peacock.
I don't. So, but it according to the app that I look at, it's on Peacock. So if you have a hankering to watch or rewatch some of these shows, it's on Blu-ray as well, or you could stream it somehow. I don't know. But it's 78% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, 85% audience score. It did get 2 thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert. Ebert picked it as the best film of 1982.
Over E.T., over Gandhi?
Over all that stuff. Yeah,
wow.
It's the best. Siskel did not, but Ebert picked it as the best film of 1982. It was not on Siskel's list at all.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he liked it. He gave it a thumbs up. He just didn't put it on his... It didn't make the top 10 cut.
Wow.
For Siskel. But Ebert thought it was the best film of 82. And Leonard Maltin, not as crazy about it, gave it 2.5 stars. He basically praised Meryl Streep's performance, but said it's not enough to carry the movie.
He's with me. I guess
he's not as crazy about it.
All right. Well, that was Sophie's choice. On these Monday episodes, we always like to talk about what we've been watching. So I'm going to pass it over to my co-host here. Andy, what have you been watching?
For no apparent reason whatsoever, I've had a lot of time on my hands lately. I don't know. I decided to watch the Purge movies, the Purge universe. I had seen the very first Purge film, not the movie The First Purge, but The Purge, the original film.
I've not seen a single Purge movie.
No, but none of them. So so it was a rewatch of The Purge, and then I think I've seen the second one, which is not Election Year. It's something else. I think Election Year is the third one. I don't remember now what the second one's called, but I'd seen the first two.
Okay.
So I was watching, but now I'm watching all the rest as well. So I rewatched The Purge, which I find not very exciting. It's pretty dull, honestly. For a movie that has kickstarted a whole kind of universe, because it's got The Purge, whatever the second one's called, Anarchy, I think is what the second one's called. In The Purge Election Year, The First Purge, 2 seasons of a Purge television show, and then The Forever Purge. And there's another Purge movie in the works. So for a movie that kicked off all of that,
the concept's
really
good.
dull. The concept is interesting.
Yeah.
But the movie is super dull. I thought that the first time I saw it, and I thought it again on the rewatch. It didn't get any better for me. The second film is way better. It's no masterpiece, but because they're not just confined to a single house like they are in the first movie. They're out on the roads and driving around and running from people and stuff. It's a lot more exciting.
Okay.
Still way too long, but it's got Frank Grillo in it. He's kind of the anti-hero, tough guy that's saving other people from the Purge that find themselves like trapped outside, so he has to kind of take care of them. It makes it more interesting, and they liked Frank Grillo so much they put him in the third movie as well, the Election Year movie. Also pretty decent, but still way too long, but the second and third movies I'd say are both, pretty good. And then after that comes The First Purge, which is a prequel.
Yep.
That's basically where before the Purge went nationwide, they tested it out on like Staten Island. So that's kind of the premise of that movie.
As you do.
Yeah. Hey, where are we going to try this out at? Staten Island. I didn't really like The First Purge very much. So this is the first time I've seen The First Purge. I didn't really like that one very much. It's pretty boring, honestly. Kind of like the very first Purge movie. It's kind of boring until like the end. It finally kicks into some high gear, but too little too late. And then, because chronologically after that was the next the 2 seasons of The Purge. It only ran 2 seasons and then it got canceled. So I'm actually not done. I'm almost done with the second season, the second and final season of The Purge, and I have yet to watch The Forever Purge, which is the final movie. So I'll have to give my findings on that at a later date. But as far as the seasons of The Purge, they're both streaming on Hulu. The 2 seasons of The Purge are streaming on Hulu. I like the fact that they actually made it into a TV series. I don't know why it got canceled. Probably low ratings, as most shows do get canceled for that reason. But because it was on USA, the first season is basically every episode is like one. It all takes place over one night, one Purge night. Basically, all 10 episodes take place. So the first episode is the first hour or so, or something like whatever. But that first season was not very good, honestly. The second season, though, I really actually like because it takes place, and again, I'm not done with it, but it takes mostly place outside of the Purge night. It's basically the first episode is the tail end of the Purge night, and then the rest of the season is kind of what happens after that. How it affected people, how it affected this one guy who an attempt was made on his life, because basically somebody put a contract out on him. So he spends time trying to track down that person. There's some guys because all crime is legal, not just murder on a Purge night. There's some people that they do heists every Purge night because they can get away with it. It's crime is legal. So they do like a heist, and then the rest of the season is kind of them planning an even bigger heist for the next Purge night. So I find the different stories that are in the second season much more interesting than the first season. Most of the characters I found to be annoying, honestly, and I wanted them all to be purged. But yeah, so that's kind of where that's what I've been watching. So that's my take, almost completely through the Purge universe until the next one comes out, I guess.
All right.
So what have you been watching?
Not Purge movies. I watched two
Screw that.
series I wanted to talk about. I did want to, since you mentioned the Purge stuff, you may remember,
Mm.
I did finish History of the World Part 2. And the last episode kind of redeems the series. So
I watched that as well, so I can chime in here.
So I feel like the last episode they kind of had new storylines, new skits, and that's more of what I wanted. So I like that. Where are you on the History of the World Part 2?
Yeah, no, I liked it. I thought it was I thought it was really funny. I didn't think it dragged or whatever like you did. I enjoyed it for the most part overall. I found most of it pretty funny.
Okay.
Honestly. And I didn't. I feel like Mel Brooks. You were talking about he sounds really
sounds so frail whenever he says the.
I feel like he sounds like he always has sounded because he's always had that raspy kind of.
No, it sounds
tone.
It sounds like it's about to break.
To me, it sounds the same as it always has. So I don't know, but I enjoyed the History of the World Part 2. Overall.
Yeah, and I like that they added the extra skit for the Jews in space stuff like that, and they kind of
because they promised that at the end of the first film. They promised a few different things, and I don't think they delivered on all.
Hitler on Ice, Jews in space. I don't remember.
I feel like there's a few that they still have yet to do.
Yeah.
But I guess that'll be coming in the next.
I hope so.
Installment, yeah. Oh, I'm sure they're probably going to do more. I would think.
Yeah. So I just wanted to follow that up. The other one was I'm listening. I was listening to like artists on Spotify, and it whenever you finish listening to like a song or an album, it'll start randomly via the algorithm choose another song, and it put on this song by this group called Daisy Jones and the Six, and the song was called The River, and I listened to it. I'm like, this song is flipping awesome. What is this? And I started looking into it, and I was like, oh wait, I remember this. This is a show that I heard about that's on Amazon Prime. So as soon as I got back, I told Kirby, I'm like, we're watching it this weekend. And so basically we sat down and watched all eight episodes of Daisy Jones and the Six. It's based off of a novel. The show's based off a novel, and the novel is kind of told in this I haven't read it, but from what I understand, the novel's told in this VH1 kind of behind the music type transcript from that show. Mm-hmm. So because of that, the show kind of uses a flashback kind of structure to tell the story of Daisy Jones and the Six. And honestly, I think that's very unnecessary. And it kind of does what my issue with Elvis is when they're in the flashback and they flashback to something else. It's like, are they telling the person in the interview like this is going on, or it's like what's actually kind of happening, taking place?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is odd, right? So they're like flashing back, talking about this time, and all of a sudden they flash back to another time. It's like, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense. So I wish they kind of went away from that, because I really don't think it adds a whole lot. It's just really a wrapper, and there's a couple things at the end, and one thing, I won't say what happened, that Kirby just groaned about. She's like, oh, they did it with this? And she was just totally, like, almost changed the way she felt about it. I think the show is interesting. It gets a little melodramatic, and it's a little rote. Like, some of the things that happen you can see coming a mile away, and it's not really surprising. And I really wish that they leaned away from the tropes a little bit more and did some more to make it interesting and make it surprising. But again, you're dealing with a source novel, so I don't know how much you can change. But some of it's like, oh, I know it's going to happen in this scene, and then it happens, and all that. The good thing about it, and what I kind of hinted to at the beginning, is the music's actually really good. And it's the show the novel's loosely based off Fleetwood Mac. And it was because she watched the dance with Fleetwood Mac and saw the kind of energy between Mick Fleetwood and Stevie Nicks, and then kind of dove into that and built out a novel that would kind of encapsulate what she was seeing, the chemistry between them and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of where this thing takes off. And the music is from a band like Fleetwood Mac in the late 60s, in the 70s. So chances are, if you like that kind of music, you're probably going to like the music here from it. So
Are there 7 people in the band? Is that what it is? Daisy Jones and 6 other people?
I don't believe there's 6 other people in the band, but they make a joke about it in the movie.
Okay.
So it's not indicative of the members of the band, but it's because if they chose the 5, they would get confused with Jackson 5, or there's another group that was someone in the 5 and
I got you.
stuff like that. So they just made it the 6. That's
Okay.
the throwaway joke.
Okay.
Hope I didn't ruin anything with that.
No.
Daisy
Jones, watch your 6. Watch my 6.
That's right. I don't even think they're even called Daisy Jones and the 6, honestly, in the as like a headlining act, but maybe they are. So that's those Daisy Jones and 6. Enjoyed watching it. Again, it's a little rote, a little play by the paint by the numbers, but overall it's pretty good. And that song, "The River," is amazing. I think it's really good. I've listened to it probably a dozen times since I've seen it. The other show I want to talk about is a Rian Johnson show, which is on Peacock, I believe, which is called Poker Face. Have you heard about this show?
That's got Natasha Lyonne.
It's got Natasha Lyonne.
Kate and Leopold's own. Natasha Lyonne.
Yeah. So this is a murder of the week show where Natasha Lyonne is really the only kind of character that is consistent through it, and each episode is a new scene, a new cast of characters, and all that. I think it was developed and thought of by Rian Johnson, and he's directed a few episodes, but I've seen other writers on the show, so I think he had a writer's room and probably helped flesh out the story to meet out a whole season. I believe there's 10 episodes in this first season. That's what I watched. The other interesting thing is you see staples from Ryan Reynolds' filmography in the movie. So like one episode has Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it, and one episode has Adrian Brody in it. So you can see some characters or some actors that he's worked with before make appearances and play kind of out of their type and all that. So that's really interesting to see. The show...
Does Carrie Fisher make an appearance?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
No, they don't CGI in Carrie Fisher.
Just checking.
Overall, I really like the show. I think the first couple episodes are not great. The first episode's okay. It's enough to kind of draw you in, but it's not great by any means. They kind of are establishing the formula with the first few episodes, and it's just too much for me. I think because I watched them so close together, that's why it felt that way. Maybe if you're watching week after week, it wouldn't feel this way. But you were definitely like seeing the formula, and they're establishing kind of what goes on and all that. Because the premise of the show is that Natasha Lyonne's character can tell when someone's not telling the truth. They don't go into why she just can tell.
They have a bad poker face.
They have a very bad poker face. So she can just tell. And so usually if she can tell someone's saying something bad, she almost has this Tourette's-like thing where she goes, bullshit. I'm like, well, I mean, I think any normal person can keep that in. They don't have to say it whenever they detect someone's lying to them, but she does.
Does she cough? Does she go, bullshit?
I don't think she does, and that's actually sad that she doesn't.
It might make it more tolerable.
Yeah, so they do that. But, so it was kind of like, I was like, oh man, this is rough. I don't know if I'm going to get through this. But towards the middle of the season, they start going into interesting places and seeing interesting things. There's a couple, like there's an episode with Nick Nolte in it, where he plays he plays like a Phil Tippett kind of character.
Okay.
That's really interesting. Huh. So they start pulling in like these different kind of like different, sets and different kind of characters and all that. And the penultimate episode, the 9th episode, is awesome. It takes everything that's building to, and it kind of flips the script, and it is crazy on how this episode is executed, and I applaud it for that, because that is very cool, and I didn't see it coming, and I hope I'm not spoiling it for people, because sometimes someone's like, hey, you got to watch out for this, or you're gonna guess it. But it was very, very satisfying what happened, and very interesting. And then it ended pretty well too. So I overall kind of liked it, and I actually was something I would actually highly recommend you watch, even though they're going to have more than one season probably. But since it is a, the consistent character and then the venues change, I think that might be something you'd be more inclined to watch as it's airing rather than wait till the end. But I think it's really good, and there's some things about it I want to talk to you about and see where you take on it. So I really.
Bullshit.
Yeah, there you go. I really like Poker Face. You just got to get through those like first 3 or 4 episodes, and then it starts getting really good.
Gotcha.
So that's why I've been watching. Poker Face, recommend. Daisy Jones and the Six, also recommend.
Daisy Jones' Locker.
That's right, Daisy Jones' Locker.
All right, so today we talked about a movie with some characters that have, shall we say, some interesting things that have taken place in their past.
That's right.
What was Adam's choice? Not Sophie's choice. What was Adam's choice to pair with Sophie's choice?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it was actually the internet. I think for this one, I was trying to Google what movies go well with. There's like a website called like Taste Dive. There's a bunch of them that I just kind of flip through and see what's interesting. And I saw another movie, like you said, that's about a main character that might be hiding something, had done something in the past that gets revealed in the movie. And also it has a actress that was nominated and won an Oscar for the role. So I figured that would pair really well with this. And I don't know if I was 100% successful with that in terms of themes, but I decided to go with The Reader. 2008's The Reader. So that's what I decided. That was Adam's and the internet's choice for Sophie's choice.
Alrighty.
All right. Well, stay tuned for that. That was everything Sophie's Choice and more. Let us know what you think about Sophie's Choice. You have a choice to leave a comment down below or not. Please do. Let us know what you think. We'd be interested to read that. Please like and subscribe and share. Do all that social media stuff. It really does help, and we really do appreciate it. And then stay tuned Wednesday when we find out if we're illiterate or not when we watch The Reader. And we'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one.